Tree Talking Time is brought to you by Conkey's Outdoors and Stone Creek Hound Supply. Be sure to check them out for all your hound hunting needs. Welcome to Tree Talking Time, where we talk all things tree dogs, from the smallest feists to the largest hounds, treating squirrels to bears and everything in between. And from time to time, we might even run a little fast game.
So one of my first leopards came from a guy named Mike Aubel. I think that was his name, from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
He died from cancer soon after. And he was a wicked nice dog.
Mm.
I didn't really know much, but I could see that he could do stuff that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like cold trail pretty quickly, and he treed and whatever. But he died for whatever reason. I didn't know much about dogs, but so I ended up getting one from Wayne.
Okay.
So Wayne Aubel dogs came from Rex Bowers.
Yeah.
And Rex Bowers dogs came from McDuffie.
Mm-hmm.
And that first one, so Wayne had one that was to my dog. So my dog's name was Gus. And Wayne's the mother to my dog and the dog that Wayne had were littermates.
Okay.
And then he had the father to my dog. Wayne had the father to that, so they were like, it was basically the same cross, but they were just brothers from same litters,
Mm-hmm. So they're half brothers, but then their mothers were sisters.
Oh, they're full brothers. Yeah, I don't know. The father of my dog and Wayne's dog was full brother, and the mother to my dog and Wayne's dog was full sisters.
Okay.
And so my dog was basically I don't know. Dogs are different than people, sort of, but cousins, I guess.
Yeah.
First cousins. But anyway, he was. I don't think he was as good as my other Gus.
Mm-hmm.
So I named him Gus, but he was pretty good. And it took us a whole while learning about dogs. I don't really know much about them still, probably.
I highly doubt that. I've heard too much to believe that.
Well, thank you. I don't know if that's a compliment or...
It is. So...
yeah, that was a pretty cool thing. And I ended up, that first Gus got bred into my dogs that I use today, my cat dogs.
Okay. Well, we're definitely going to cover that. Before we get too far into this, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, Tim Barry. How'd I do? Did I pass the audition?
You're from Maine.
Hi, I'm Tim Barry.
You're from Maine, correct?
Yes.
And what are you hunting primarily?
I hunt bears and I hunt bobcats with dogs. Right now it's deer season. I'm hunting the deer.
There you go. I've heard that you are a top-notch bobcat hunter.
Among many others.
Yeah. One of the best in the state.
Thanks.
That's what I hear.
Flattering me. Yeah.
That's what people are saying.
That's what they said, yeah. There's a lot of good hunters out there in Maine, I think. But thank you, yeah.
And I heard you had some top-notch dogs, so that's why we're talking.
I think that might be the key. I do have some better dogs than other people, maybe.
Okay.
That might be. My dogs might be better than some others.
Well, let's talk about your dogs then.
Good enough.
When did you get started with whatever you got? Like, obviously, you said you've had some leopards. You've crossed them in.
Yeah. Some people think that my dogs are leopard curs, but they are like a high tan or black and tan, pretty much. But they have leopard in them, but not a whole lot. They got more, I would say, Walker and English in there than leopard, and then they got a mixture of blue tick plot red bone.
You got everything in there.
There's a little bit of everything in there, and my dogs are all black and tan, and to my knowledge, there's no black and tan in them.
Yeah.
It's the blue tick that kind of keeps it strong.
That is funny.
Well, another real interesting thing, if I have a litter, you cross 2 black and tans out there, and there's about a third of them will come out looking like walkers. Or you could take one of the walker ones, cross it into one of the other ones, the black and tan ones. Same deal. About a third of them come out being black, walker looking. The other ones look like black and tans. Now, we've never done a walker cross yet.
Yeah.
But we probably might. We do have a female walker looking ones and some female black and tan looking ones. But
okay.
Someone asked me the other day, were the walker ones any better than the black and tan ones? And I don't know. I don't think one color is any better than the other. I think that I've just chose the black ones to hunt more because I like the black ones better.
Yeah.
And so I think it's hard to tell. But I did have a white one I called Moo that was actually a mother to one of the cat dogs there. Thatcher, probably the best cat dog I ever had was Thatcher. And Moo was a walker looking one. She was a mother to Thatcher.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, sort of started my own little strain, but there's the plots and probably the other strain, other breeds too, but the plots and the leopard curs and a lot of the mountain curs, they've had family bred strains for a long time, a lot longer than my strain.
Oh, yeah.
The thing is, I went for a dog. I think anyone that coon hunts, I think learns a lot about dogs, a lot better than, say, just a bear hunter.
Why do you say
that?
I
never really rabbit hunted either, but I think someone that rabbit hunts might learn a little more too. But the coon hunt, especially because it's all done in the night, so the dog really doesn't even use his eyes. Whereas sometimes bear dogs will use their eyes more often. And I think that's how I learned was, when it started, everyone learns. We're still learning, And every time we go out, hopefully you learn something.
Yeah.
And I got started. I was about 30 years old when I got started. So
oh wow, a bit of a late start.
Yeah, I was rock and roll band playing music all the time, and I wanted to do something a little harder than making it big doing that. So I got into dogs.
There you go.
And it's been a lot of fun and learned a lot and learned about breeding. I got into breeding. I read I had the full cry back then. I would read McDuffie.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think some people might have not cared for his line of thinking, but he was a breeder, and he did have, in my brain, he made a lot of sense. I think he did in a lot of people's. I think a lot of your plot breeders and, well, all your dog breeders in every color, I think a lot of them might have probably did read McDuffie's readings, writings. I mean,
yeah, he wrote that. What was it? Breeding for Results, or I forget.
Is that what it's called? Yeah.
I forget what he titled that article, but he wrote that article for a very long time.
Yeah, I liked it. I look forward to getting that full cry just to read that. Yeah. And so I got into it, and I went through quite a few dogs before I really found what I liked. But I didn't really know what I liked, so I had to figure out what I liked.
Now, when you first got into it, were you running bears or bobcats, or both at first?
Bears and raccoons.
Okay.
And I mean, I went on a couple bobcat excursions, but probably I was into it about 10 years before I really decided to chase a bobcat pretty seriously.
Okay. And
over the years, I had kept I had some crosses that I had made, but I had some mistake crosses too that I had kept one out of. Probably a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But some of them
It's my
made some
best dog
pretty,
right now.
yeah, they were pretty interesting dogs. And I saw, because a lot of the dogs I kept were ones I liked, just I guess everybody does that. But man, I went through a lot of dogs. I took free ones. I bought some, and eventually, at first I kind of liked a more of a hot nosed dog,
Mm-hmm.
um, which helped me learn about the way dogs hunt. And McDuffie, he never really believed that there was any dog called a hot nose or a cold nose. He figured they all had the same nose, is what he said.
Yeah.
He said they all have the same nose, just what they do with their brain is what it is.
I've heard that argument before, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it that intrigued me. But I liked a dog that could catch
Mm-hmm.
on bear and on anything really. So when I started chasing cats, I used some of those dogs that I had that were raccoon dogs and bear dogs, and I noticed the way they treed. Whereas on a bear, you don't notice it as much, but you can if you look. You know what you're looking for. It's all about. So a lot of dogs, they put their feet right on the wood and they hug the tree and they're yelling out they got the bear right there, and they could smell that track
Mm-hmm.
and run in the tree and all that. But there were some dogs that would sit off the tree, and I noticed it with a dog named Ruby once, who's in this pedigree of mine. She just sat off. She treated a coon one night. She was sitting way off the tree, like 30 feet, kind of sitting in the open and just treeing. I'm like, why is she treeing over there? And she wasn't under no tree, but I looked up and it was a moonlit night and you could see the coon clearly in the hardwood.
Yeah.
She was just winding that current. I didn't know anything about anything. I was just young, Not that I know anything about anything now, but then I noticed it with some other dogs I had. One time we treated a bear in a big pine tree, and the dogs are in the middle of the bog in the swale grass treeing, and the bear is way up in the top of a pine tree.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, they're not really treeing. The bear must have climbed the tree before they even fought with it, or the coon did,
Yeah.
And then I ended up having these dogs that were layup. That's in this pedigree too. Dog named Drum. He was a wicked good bear dog. Tree bears by himself, but I'd rode him down the road rather than rig him,
Mm-hmm.
and that way they get exercise.
Yeah.
And he would just lift his head and just shoot into the woods, 50, 100 yards sometimes, and just lock down tree. And he'd always have the meat. There'd be a coon or something in the tree. He's a good bear dog, but in the daytime he wanted to chase bears, but sometimes he'd tree a coon. But he was a wicked layup dog.
Yeah.
And then I realized, that about dogs. And when I started breeding for bobcat dogs, I took that into consideration.
Yeah. No, for sure. A good winning dog and that can tree a layup is something special. That's for sure, because not everyone can.
So all these dogs I got that I have right in the dooryard now, except for one plot there I never really bear hunted my dogs. I used registered plots, and my cat dog strain I just kind of kept on bobcats. But
Okay.
the last couple of years I've been really putting it to it. So now everybody in the yard except for this plot is all they're all cousins and brothers and sisters and mothers and
Mm-hmm.
fathers. And I'm not saying they're all great, but I like them.
Yeah. So what stands out about your dogs other than the fact that, you said you've had quite a few that are pretty good layup dogs?
Uh, the ones that I breed, if I, some of them are really, really good bobcat dogs, meaning they can catch a bobcat. They can just, once they get them, they just round them right up and they just catch them and you just walk in and
Yeah.
either take a picture or let the cat go. That's really what's so great about them. I don't know if they're any more colder nose because I thought they couldn't cold trail worth a damn. Say 10 years ago, I said, I was talking with Nelson Cole. If you know Nelson, he's a great cat hunter.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't think they cold trail that good, really, Nelson. And he didn't say much. But looking back, I'm like, well, maybe they do cold trail pretty good. And, because all one's related, they're all related, really. And that's where I learned from reading McDuffie. Same thing with a lot of these breeders like Wayne. His dogs are all related.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you go through any good breeder in the plot, especially the plot breeds, because I follow the plot breeds. I'm pretty good. I don't really know walkers all that well, and I don't really know any of the other breeds at all. Just
yeah,
because that's what I had. I think it'd take you more than a lifetime to figure out every breed. There's too many of them, and
for sure,
too many strains when you go into those. So when I kind of get locked into a couple strains of the plots, like I really like that Ursa strain when I was introduced to it.
Okay.
But there's all kinds of other ones that are probably, from what I've heard, even better than that. But I liked how that Ursa strain worked for me because they did everything I wanted to, and I just chase bears with them. That's one thing I don't do that other people do is I run bears with one dog, and that's what he runs. I don't really run a bear and a coon and a bobcat.
Okay.
It's just I like having a dog that's my cat dog and that's my bear dog. And his name's Rover, and that one I forgot that one's name.
So when you bear hunt, you don't typically hunt a pack of dogs, or you just say they're all just straight bear dogs.
That's it. That's the only thing I run them on.
Okay.
Although I got one out here that's a young male. I'm thinking about doing both with him. I haven't done that for 20 years. I probably haven't run a dual purpose dog. I just only had a cat dog there, and those were bear dogs.
Gotcha. So if you follow,
I'm learning about how they, why is he doing this like this on the bear, and why is he doing it? Because just because he's a good bear doesn't mean he's going to be a good cat dog. That's not how it works.
Oh yeah.
In my brain, it doesn't.
Oh, they're completely. They run completely different. They act different. So, yeah. Why would you need the same dog?
Well, I think a lot over the years. I mean, we were kind of taught that when we were younger. Is like, take your best bear dog. That's going to be your best cat dog. And that's kind of how I heard when I was learning, and it just wasn't true.
Yeah.
I think I've had some good coon dogs that probably would have been, if I would have had them now, better cat dogs. And because I don't know what I was doing, It wasn't like I was born at 10 years old and I was going coon hunting with my uncles and my father or anything.
Oh, I understand.
That's how it was for me. I did, like, when I got into it, I had a couple friends that, that had been doing it for their lives, but just because you meet people that were doing it their whole lives didn't mean they knew everything either. Because they, I love my friends, but I'm not gonna say they knew everything.
Oh yeah. No, I understand, and I'm in the same boat. I didn't grow up doing it. I started right out of high school when I went to college, and I was lucky enough to find a mentor that had been doing it his whole life. So I gained a lot of knowledge in the first couple of years from him, but after that, it's been figuring it out.
Yeah, and I think what I see nowadays with the invention of the Garmin and and all the way it is now, a lot of guys they measure their success and how good their dog is like, how many, not maybe some with numbers, how many bears we got or whatever, but you know uh, if they caught the bear, I don't care if I catch the bear. I really don't. I mean, I think that's the end thing that should be done, but man, I really am interested in how it got started and all that, and I think a lot of people are learning more with the Garmin. These a younger man like yourself is going to do way more than I ever did, just because you got better tools.
Oh yeah, you can figure out what they're doing when they're doing the wrong things. You can correct it a lot easier. Where 30 years ago, when your dog took off into the woods, you didn't know what it was doing.
That's the truth.
It could be trashing on a coyote out in the field, and you never know it if it wasn't opening. So,
and that's why I learned to like about dogs too, because I had friends that had some hard-headed walkers and hard-headed English dogs, and I hunted with them. And
Conkeys Outdoors is proud to be a sponsor of Tree Talking Time. Family, hunting, tradition is the Conkeys motto. They understand the importance of passing down the tradition of hound hunting. They are a family-owned business that treats you like family. They also understand the importance of having the gear you need when you need it. Conkeys carries everything for your next hunt, and it ships to your door quick. They also offer great warranties on all tracking systems and financing options. Check them out at conkeys.com. You can also use the code TreeTalkingTime5 in all caps to save as well.
sometimes I'd hunt those dogs by themselves rather than mine, because we're all, guiding. We work, if your dogs are down, you take someone else's dogs. And, man, I really learned I really like my dogs because at the end of the day, all I had to do was holler for them and they'd come running. And
Yeah.
their dogs, you would have to literally walk them down. I mean, go in there and catch them,
Yep.
And I'm like, man, I would never want to own a dog like this,
Yep. I'm right there with you.
And so back then, but their dogs would catch just maybe more game than mine would.
Mm-hmm.
But I like mine because at the end of the day, I could round them up.
Exactly.
And I think that's one of the reasons some people didn't like mine, because they were kind of too soft, I guess you could call it.
Okay.
And I don't particularly care for a dog that's too soft, but like, and I'm only calling them soft, meaning that they cower when you yell at them.
Yeah.
And although if you learn, you don't have to yell. Like I just said, shut up to that dog, and I didn't yell,
Mm-hmm.
I said, hey, be quiet,
See, I like a dog that is smart enough that they don't need a heavy hand, and they pick up on things like you said. Tell them to be quiet, and they're quiet. Where a lot of hounds, especially long ago, were not very smart, and a lot of people were very heavy-handed because they were not very smart, and they didn't quite get with the program. You could correct them, and they still wouldn't, listen.
Yeah, and I think that's why even myself, I like an old. Now I don't care any age, but I know when I was younger, I liked the older dogs because they kind of just would listen.
Mm-hmm.
We're hunting more houndy dogs, and I got other dogs bred into my pack out here, my bear dogs especially, and they're hounds. I think a hound sometimes a little more durable than a cur dog as far as bear hunting.
Yeah.
Hunted enough, mountain curs and leopard curs. And I'm not saying all strains. I'm just saying the particular ones that I owned. That I can't speak for the whole breed. The curs that I've had and the hounds I've had. The hound on a bear, the bears, the hounds were more durable as far as long distance running every day.
Yep.
Running long ways, and out of that, the I can't really say there was. I guess some of those plots were just that Ursa strain I had. They were just nice dogs,
Hmm. Well,
and
so since you had those plots for quite a long time and ran them a lot on bear, why is your cat dog strain have so much Walker in it then and other stuff?
I just got this plot in there. Because it started out my strain started out with there was a dog named Buck, and he was a black dog. He was half plot, and his father was Spike, and he was Walker and Blue Tick.
Okay.
And then came that black dog, and then that black dog got bred to a Blue Tick, and then that out of that there was a High Tan that got bred to bred to a part red bone, part English dog. That's that Ruby dog. And out of that, Ruby was bred to the leopard cur. And out of that, there was a buckskin colored dog that was bred to a Walker. And that dog was a High Tan little cat dog. That was probably my first cat dog. Her name was Kizzy, and she was really good. I mean, she could do everything. I ran her on bears, and that's when I got into it. Kind of, I was getting into it all along, but when I really got her, that was my really first dog that could catch a cat. Just
Okay.
turn a loose, and she'd run down, chase it, run around, and then catch it.
Hmm.
And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool, And she, I intentionally bred her to a dog. I looked for someone to breed it to, and the dog I found was a dog that was not a cat dog. It was a wicked bear dog. He was a lot bigger than her, but I liked how he ran through the woods. And he was a English dog, but he was out of that hard time stuff. And hard time was like
Hmm.
hard time spec was a walker and
Yeah.
an English.
Yeah.
So that's why I say there's more walker in there, because and then out of that cross, I think it was like 7 of them, and like 6 of them were really pretty. I think 5 of them were really good cat dogs, and then
Hmm.
all 7 of them went to. One didn't go, if I remember, because I had it, someone else had it, and then someone else had it, and it just didn't go for some reason, which didn't go at all. But I had one out of that cross that wouldn't go on anything, and I didn't even know. I just didn't sell him because I said, "No, you don't want that one. He doesn't do a damn thing." And
Yeah.
I just kept him loose in the yard, because those my dogs, they all grow up loose in the yard, and they come when they're called, whatever. And he was just loose in the yard. And then one day I said, I better take him. I took him bear hunting. He just wouldn't go. His sisters and stuff would all go and be right there with the pack. So he did chase a couple deer. He was just to hunt with him was irritating.
Yeah.
Bear hunting, I mean. And then I just took him cat hunting one day, and I had a walker that was out of cat dog bred walker, on both sides, and she did okay. She was doing the cat pretty good. And I said, let me try this black one here. Man, the first track he put on, he was just excelling.
Hmm.
And the second track he put on, he's just like, you could just tell he was hungry to get it. And I just said to this guy, I bet if I get a first cat he jumps, I bet he catches. And the next time I went, I was hunting with a guy from Saskatchewan. He was in Maine, and he was a deer hunter out there. He had a deer. Actually, he lived in British Columbia. I forget his name. Only hunted with him once, and he never been. I said, "Come on, let's go." And we found a track. That dog cold trailed it through moose, and I kept checking on him, make sure he was running the right stuff. And finally, he got it jumped, and sure enough, he run it all around there for a half an hour to an hour, and had it bayed up right on the side of a lake.
Nice.
Couldn't believe it. And I kind of and that's what, then these dogs that are in the dooryard all go back to him.
Okay.
So they really go all back to Kizzy and the other bunch too. But
At that point, is that when you kind of started doing some more line breeding?
That's where line breeding got real heavy. Yep.
Okay. Well, because those first early, you're talking about a lot of outcrosses. This crossed with that, crossed with this, crossed with that. Very different stuff. So
Yeah. So yeah. So after that, after that, his name was Jack. There
okay,
was after Jack, everything got really. There was inbreds and line breeds, and
gotcha.
so what happened, I think, too, is I think some people tried dogs that I had and made outcrosses. I think if you outcross them, sometimes they make really pretty good bear dogs.
Yeah.
But I think what happens, though, is in my strain, particularly, the males can be a little hard to handle around other males,
Okay.
and just how it is. But cat hunting ain't really a group. It's not really a team sport. It's more of a one dog will do the trick.
Hmm.
One's good, they say. And
So it's not really an issue for
people,
you, but when you
but I
sell them
think
to bear
people,
hunters, it can be.
yeah, I think people were trying to bear hunt some of the dogs they got out of my strain. I really don't know, and I don't think they do good on bear. I don't think if I make a cross, it's going to be a cat cross. Oh, that's not true. I'm thinking in my head who else had them. Some people had them, and they did make good dogs, but I don't know. Not every dog turns out. I don't think
Oh yeah, for sure.
might turn out to do something, but not totally as good as maybe the parent. I don't know.
I've had my fair share of those.
Yeah, I think we've all had. Just because it's out of a great cross or whatever doesn't mean yours is going to be great.
Hmm. So how did you get into guiding?
Remember I told you I was a rock and roll star?
Yeah.
I wanted to do something that was harder. Guiding seemed like the perfect thing. You work very, very hard and you don't make very much money. Same thing as rock and roll.
Just wasn't sure how you made that jump.
Just I've always been I'm a country boy.
Hmm.
Wasn't born in the city. I live nearest. I live I was born in Maine. I live near Augusta, the capital.
Okay.
It's a city. I'd say it's a very small city, and so being a country boy, I just like hunting, and you know,
Hmm.
and I had children. I had a wife and a couple kids, so I had to be around some. And
Yeah.
playing in the bar rooms weren't really probably as good as driving around the dirt roads.
Exactly. Well, you got any good stories for us? All these years of guiding and raising dogs and
A good story for I don't know.
you said you did your homework. This is the only homework I gave you is I said have some stories ready.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's kind of weird being interviewed as something of an accomplishment in my life, but yeah, I guess I, I I had a pretty good bear season this past season,
Hmm.
and what it was is I was turning. I've turned. I'm trying to make trail dogs because I love cold trailing,
Hmm.
and I find it so interesting because cold trailing isn't only where the bear walked. Just because the bear walked there 12 hours ago doesn't mean the dog is following every footstep.
Hmm.
And this year I had a couple really nice cold trail work and it all came clear to me this year where now I realize what they were doing 20 years ago, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is what they were doing. So what it is the bear was there like, say, 10 hours ago, 12 hours ago, whatever. And the dogs can smell all that bear right around that bait site,
Oh yeah.
where it's walked a few times, and they get screwed up on some of the feeder trails or whatever. Well, this particular day, and I've done this, you know, 20, 30 times, whereas the bear comes to the water or comes to some kind of a road or whatever, and just the trail ends right there.
Yeah.
Well, all you got to do is think ahead a little bit. Well, obviously the bear's on the other side of the lake. So you go to the other side of the lake and you pick up the track. And they did that. And sometimes it takes longer than what you want to spend in your day. But these dogs got out there in the swamp, and the swamp was probably, how big is that thing? Maybe 3/4 of a mile wide by maybe half a mile deep.
Okay.
That's how big the swamp is. Pretty big swamp.
Mm-hmm.
And the bear had gone into that swamp. Well, I don't know if the bear went through the swamp or if he's in the swamp. I don't really know. But there happens to be a road on the other side. So the dogs were in there and they just were barking and barking, and they were scouring that whole swamp. I mean, just like, I don't know, just like a computer just erasing everything in the computer, just going right over from one end to the other. And they got like 3/4 away across that swamp after an hour or so. And finally they just started barking just a little more on a line rather than scouring it. And then they got a jump, and the bear popped right up in the road right in front of us, and we were parked right there. And that bear
Nice.
never left that swamp. And I found that so interesting because they really weren't cold trailing the bear as much as they were cold trailing little bits of scent that had been blown all over the place through there.
Yeah.
And they finally was it a scent off the bear that they were smelling is the question, or was it the scent off the track? You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like all kinds of weird questions. And, but so interesting. And then, we treated the bear, but, and the day had gone on. It was late in the day when it was probably noontime when we treated the bear. But the whole interesting is that the cold trail.
Yeah.
And they didn't really go any distance. They went not even a half a mile across that swamp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that happened, other time. It happened again. I did it with an older dog, like probably 7-year-old, a 1-year-old, and then a 2-year-old at another place. That last story was with Scout. He's 7 and Sedgwick was 1, and they both worked well together. And I did this next chase with Scout and Sedgwick and Crank. And Crank's a 2-year-old, and he's a slow dog on the track for some reason. I don't know why. Slow dog on the jump track, on the jump game. And he went out there and cold trailed with them other 2 dogs, and they were out there for an hour. And I don't use cameras during the training season. The barrel's tipped over, I turn loose. Mm-hmm. They'll figure it out. And they cold trailed out there. I mean, not very far. They're doing that same thing, that just scouring the place, just smelling. And I trust them. I don't say, all right, they're going to run a moose. Oh no, they're going to run a deer. They're going to run a rabbit. If you're running bears, they know what you want. Mm-hmm. Those dogs, they know exactly what you want. And they're out there, and finally, they were just separated all over the place. And they won't honor one another. I don't get it. I do not understand why one dog won't honor that other dog. And you figure that older dog must have it. Those young dogs, there's no way they got it, but that older dog must have it. Well, that little Crank dog, the 2-year-old, just kept going further and further away from those other dogs, back towards me, but in kind of a different direction. All of a sudden, boom, he was jumped and running for all his worth. I mean, just running. I'm like, all right, by himself. He's the least experienced dog. Must be running a deer or a moose or whatever.
Yeah.
And I watched, finally, Sedgwick, the puppy, he ran to him, and now there's 2 of them running it, and it circles, and it's going to come by Scout, and Scout's just standing there listening. And he's the old dog. He's the one you trust, right?
Yeah.
Finally, he runs over there and investigates, and next thing you know, he's driving, and they're all rolling right out of there. And Crank started it, the one with the least experience, and he got behind pretty much after a while because he just doesn't seem to run like those other two. And they had a bear chase all day after that. Never did get that one, but
Hey, but
there's
still.
another cold trail thing where I was like, man, they're not really cold trailing as much as they're just kind of hunting the scent to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Really interesting. I don't totally know what they're doing, but I'm trying to figure it out and probably never know.
Yeah, if we knew, we could smell it, and we wouldn't need dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been fun learning all about it. And,
Yeah.
the catching of the bear is cool. It's fun. It's great, and that's, when you're guiding, everybody wants to kill one.
Yeah.
Uh, uh,
And that's how you gotta make your money if you're guiding. So
makes enough money to pay for the gas and the lodging, I guess.
yeah.
And, but it's been fun learning about the dogs, really, and then I'm wondering, well, I want a better dog. Oh, I got to get a better dog. Everybody always wants a better dog. I'm no less guilty than another person.
Stone Creek Hound Supply, a family-operated business, boasts over 50 years of involvement in hounds. For over 2 decades, they've been dedicated to supplying high-quality hound gear. Their reputation is founded on unparalleled quality and exceptional customer service. Crafted from U.S. source materials, Stone Creek clothing is meticulously manufactured right here in Pennsylvania. Through their commitment to excellence, many of their customers have become lifelong friends. Use the code TreeTalkInTime15 to save on all your purchases.
But a lot of times, the dogs you got are just as good as anyone else's, I think. I don't really hunt with everybody else, so I don't know, but I guess they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or there's a lot of people that, talk a big game, but your dogs are probably better. There's somebody told me one time, it had nothing to do with dogs. It was something completely separate. And he was like, the guys that talk a lot and they have to brag and they wear the t-shirts and everything. He goes, a lot of times they're not the best guys. He goes, the best guys, they just show up and do it. And they let their actions speak louder than their words. And, I've found that is very true in a lot of ways, in like a lot of different facets, and including running hounds.
Yeah.
The guys that are real braggadocious and always want to, toot their own horn. I don't necessarily think they always have the best dogs. So.
Yeah, and I've had some good ones, man. I've really been blessed so much. So much. I had some real nice, I had a Walker Coon dog once that was just phenomenal. And some really nice packs of bear dogs. Because, I was younger. I didn't know much about it either. I was trying to figure it out. The Garmin really has helped me figure out all kinds of stuff. I can't imagine someone, that's never done it. It's got to be like the best tool ever, because it's the best tool ever for me. It doesn't be the best tool for them, because I can't imagine doing it with the beep collars anymore after using that.
Yeah.
I don't know how we even did it, really. Looking back, we had to had a lot of luck. You know what it was, though? At the end of the day, you'd have a lot of bad days, and they were compounded and made worse because it took so long to round up your dogs.
Oh, yeah.
That's what the Garmin does. It rounds up your dogs pretty quick so that you can hunt the next day or hunt that afternoon or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas I think too, it does help you get the game too now, because you know exactly what road or where to even stand on the road.
Yeah.
Whereas we didn't have that. We had to take a good guess.
Mm-hmm.
Back when we started, back when I started.
No, and like you said, you can head dogs off, and you know which road they're heading towards, and
oh yeah, it's just unreal. And that's made for better hunters. Not sure it's made for better dogs, but it might help the dogs if you know if you know dogs, it helps.
Mm-hmm.
It's help, probably if you understand the dog a little more than someone else, because almost anybody can get into it and do pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas before, a lot of guys got into it and they couldn't do good, so they kind of got out of it pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
Made the sport bigger, which is nice.
Do you prefer bobcat hunting or bear hunting?
You can only bobcat hunt in the snow, so I like it when it snows and you can bobcat hunt. So I like bear hunting too. But you know what I really like? Probably I'm starting to learn is I really like just hunting by myself. I
Well,
really don't care
that's
with anybody.
problematic when you're a guide.
Yeah, well, I enjoy just taking my little pack of dogs because I don't care if I catch a bear.
Yeah.
I like just turning them loose and just like seeing what happens. And I got an idea there was a bear there, but can they figure it out?
Mm-hmm.
And can I figure it out? And I probably like cat hunting better.
Okay.
Probably do because you don't have to handle like I bear hunt with 6 dogs.
Yeah.
And I hunt males, which a lot of guys hunt everything. I like females, but I like males for bear dogs. It just seems like you're going out with a team of morons and they're trying to catch the bear. And my cat hunting, I cat hunt females,
Okay.
and you only use 1 or 2 dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And then I might hunt a male this year because we do have a couple males. I hunt with Forrest Wardwell, and he's got he and I have a male together, and then I got a male out here, so we may end up hunting him. We don't know. There's so little cat hunting to be done because of the weather.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add?
Well, I don't know. I hope my story was good enough.
Yeah. No, I've enjoyed this.
I don't know. I failed the homework assignment because you did say that, and I don't know. I got a million stories, but I don't know. I just didn't think of I can't think of a story.
All righty. Well, I appreciate it, Tim. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you too.
All right.
Nice.
Bye. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Tree Talking Media. And until next time, keep them talking in the timber.